Brotbackzentrale, Direktor am Apparat. Ja, Herr Bundeskanzler, ich weiß, das letzte Brot war eine taktische Fehlentscheidung. Nein, Herr Merz, keine Experimente mehr. Wir kehren zur Stabilität zurück. Mehl Tube 550, Wasser drastisch reduziert. Das Ziel ist nicht Kunst, das Ziel ist Essbarkeit.
Today the stakes are super high. There are no room for mistakes. We will not do any experiments, we will just use the standard issue recipe. 500 grams of type 550 all-purpose flour, a half of the cube of fresh yeast, this time we will use only the half of the cube, and 300 milliliters of water. Let's start the calibration procedure. 500 gram, exactly 500, 100, 600, 20, 620, perfect. This time we will succeed, I promise you. We will not do any experiments, no new innovations, just a plain German bread. 500. Next, we will fill this vessel with 300 milliliters of water and dissolve a half of this fresh yeast cube, which should be 21 gram. Let's go. This time we will make sure that the temperature of water is actually in range which is comfortable for yeast. As you can see, it's 39.3. 500. The next step is to cut this cube exactly in half. As I said, we need 21 grams of yeast. 21. There is no exact procedure which states how exactly the yeast should be mixed in water, but we will just apply common sense. We will mix our water clockwise for about 30 seconds. And of course, not to forget 1 tablespoon of salt. And as we all know, the salt has to be mixed counterclockwise. This is really important to preserve the energy equilibrium after mixing ingredients in water. Knead it with your bare hands. That's exactly what we are going to do now. I am now getting flashbacks from the last time because it also feels quite liquidy. Damn it, what have I done wrong this time? It was 500 gram of flour and 300 gram of water. I think something definitely went wrong. We need to go back and actually see the footage, what went wrong. Maybe we can still save it. Because look at that. It's liquid again. What's the actual... Well, I was able to watch the video when I was measuring water, and indeed, instead of 300 milliliters, I was measuring 500 milliliters, which is much more. That's why we ended up again with a soup. To restore the equilibrium, we will have to add 330 gram of flour. Therefore, the relation will be restored and we can continue with our standard procedure. Catastrophe averted. Yes. So let's just add 330 gram of flour and we can continue as intended. Nobody will notice anything except that the loaf will be a bit bigger, but we will find a purpose for the surplus bread. No problem. 330 for protocol. Now I can go back to my favorite process step and to mix it. Oh, this feels so nice. Actually, it feels really nice. Yeah, now I think we will get dough, perfect dough. You know what? It's actually looking good. I have high hopes. Well, regardless of my hopes, there is no place for failure today. Because if you remember correctly, the first one was alright, but it was too yeasty. Well, we fixed that by using less yeast. The second bread was flat as an unidentified as a UFO, and therefore we had a serious talk with our chief in command. He made it really clear that this bread has to be successful, or the whole party will lose its face. So I will knead it for another 10 minutes by hands. Actually, it's quite good exercise for my wrists. And then I will let it rest for an hour. Well, it's been an hour, and some smart people among you will probably scream at me and say, well, you added not enough yeast for this amount of flour. Well, first, let's look at the result. As you can see, the dough has actually risen quite well. There are bubbles and stuff, but of course, since we have added much more flour to our mix, yeast has to work Überstunden. Such is life. There is no way around it. They knew what they signed for. So now I will perform stretch and fold and drag and rotate technique and let it rest for another 40 minutes. Oh, nice. And what it does, it creates tension. And even though tension is bad, in our case, it's actually good. We need to watch out so that the surface does not rip apart. Look at that. Isn't it the best loaf so far? It is. Now we will let it rest for another 40 to 50 minutes and bake it. A small incision. Nobody will feel anything. Like that. And like that. I have high hopes on you, bread number 3. Do not fail me. Look at that mother of bread. 1 whole kilogram of a loaf. Beautiful. Even though the square didn't made as much as expected, but I think that's because our gluten was just too strong as our society is. But the bread itself, it's beautiful. It's beautiful and perfect. One of the best bread I ever baked. Well, I baked only 3, so this is the best of 3. Let's take a look. Hollow inside, hard on the outside. And full of hot steam inside, exactly as a proper government should be. Let's give it a taste. Well, first of all, let's analyze the inside. You can see bubbles right there and there. That's a nice sign. It's quite fluffy It's quite fluffy. This is beautiful. Okay, let's give it a taste. I know it's still hot and I need to wait, but I cannot wait. I'm hungry and curious, and let's take this part. Very nice. It is success. And mistakes we made, mistakes are only mistakes if they are documented. And in this case, nothing was documented.
Operation outcome success. However, the workflow remains inefficient. Optimization is mandatory. End of transmission.